Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 1, Bank Up a Fire. Hey, seal the fire, wake up. It was just kicked, your will is too depressed. If you don't wake up, I will leave. No one will take care of you when I leave, you bastard. Damn it, I'm going to help the old lady cross the road, I don't care about you. The long-winded voice finally faded away, and on the Japanese-style tatami, a pale 6-year-old boy slowly opened his eyes. I am Uchiha Funghua. A strange memory gushed out from the deepest part of his mind, crazily stimulating a certain part of his brain. In an instant, his eyes were sore and sore, as if there were countless ants crawling around inside, extremely uncomfortable. Funghua rolled over on the tatami in pain and knocked over a mirror. He hurriedly grabbed the mirror, and when he looked at it, his face was suddenly full of confusion, only to see a pair of ominous pupils in the mirror. Isn't this, sharing eyes? In the blood-colored pupils, a black goyu was slowly spinning along the pupils, extremely coquettish. I have really become a Uchiha seal, this is the world of Naruto. Funghua had a dull expression on his face, he couldn't believe what he saw. Naruto, isn't it an anime? What exactly is going on? 5 full minutes passed before Funghua reluctantly and happily accepted this reality. In my previous life, I was just a child from an ordinary family. I had no background or support. After graduation, I worked in a factory and worked overtime until 9:30 every day. I had done nothing for a few years. I just felt sorry for my parents. Funghua sighed, unknowingly, his Sharingan slowly dissipated. After all, he just opened his eyes, and he was young, so he couldn't hold on for too long. Finally, the tired Funghua fell into a deep sleep again. The next day, when he opened his eyes again, he had fully recovered. Yesterday, the ninja school held a graduation exam. Kakashi, who was only 5 years old, graduated from the ninja school with honors, breaking the record for the youngest graduate of the ninja school over the years. He became Konoha's super genius and was praised by countless people. As a member of the Uchiha tribe, Uchiha Funghua is proud and arrogant. Of course, he can't understand his pretentious behavior. He resolutely challenged Kakashi in public, but he was kicked away and became the laughing stock of the whole school. Kakashi graduated from the ninja school. This time period should be just in between the Second Ninja War and the Third Ninja War. I remember that the fuse of the Third Ninja War was the third generation of Kaze from Sand Hidden Village. The shadow is missing. Funghua didn't care about the challenge to Kakashi, anyway, he wasn't the one who did it, he was recalling the story of Naruto at this time, but after many years, many details can no longer be recalled. The Third Ninja World War and the Fourth Ninja World War are all meat grinders. Each time is more terrifying than the last one. If you don't have enough strength, you can only be reduced to cannon fodder. You don't even know how to die. Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obito, and Shao Organization, these guys are all in human existence. By the way, Kakashi's father is Konoha Hakuga, a super existence that even Konoha Sannin would shy away from. If I can get his guidance. I'm from the Uchiha clan, and the relationship with the Hatake clan seems very close. Stiff. There are so many things going on, and for a while, Funghua only felt his head was as big as a bucket, and he was very uncomfortable. At this moment, there was a sound of door opening outside the house. Stop the fire, I'm in. Then, a little boy wearing goggles walked in. It was the person who took care of sealing the fire yesterday. You, Obito Uchiha, Obito? Funghua almost jumped up and flipped 360 degrees and kneeled down to the supervillain boss. Ninja School for Advanced Studies, the whole tale of a crane, the school ranking is even lower than his awesome existence. Ah. Funghua, are you surprised to see me? Uchiha Obito came over familiarly, knelt and sat beside the tatami, touched Fenghua's forehead, and said to himself, I don't have a fever. Bastard, I'm fine. Fenghua blushed a little, he was an adult, but he was scared into such a virtue by a kid, he really wanted to find a crack in the ground and sneak in. That's good. By the way, Fenghua, you don't want to go out alone recently. Uchiha Obito said to himself, the fact that you challenged Kakashi yesterday has spread among the clan. It's embarrassing, many people are clamoring to beat you. Can you be more serious when you say this? Fenghua's mouth twitched. I'm happy for you. Uchiha Obito laughed loudly. Didn't you always want to be famous in Konoha? Now, your dream has come true, and I am sincerely happy for you. You bastard. In my memory, Fenghua and Uchiha Obito are neighbors. They have a good relationship since they played together since childhood, but Uchiha Obito has a kind personality, while Fenghua has inherited the unique stubbornness and arrogance of the Uchiha clan in character, but this does not hinder their friendship. Oh, no, I made breakfast for you, but I met an old lady crossing the road on the way, and I gave her your breakfast by the way. Uchiha Obito slapped his head, with an annoyed expression on his face. The corners of Fenghua's eyes twitched. Brother, you reading www.yuukangshu.com. You live next door to my house. Do you need to cross the road when you go from your house to mine? Obito Uchiha looked at him with his head tilted, and said shamelessly, because I went to see Lin first, huh? Sealing the Fire was completely speechless. Lin, this girl is the goddess Uchiha Obito has been secretly in love with for many years, and because of her, Uchiha Obito finally fell into Uchiha Madara's trap and became a puppet. But Fenghua looked at Obito Uchiha. This guy is as old as himself, only 6 years old this year, only 6 years old, bastard. A 6-year-old kid who has learned to love secretly. How precocious are you? In your mother's stomach, you have already started to develop, right? Fenghua sighed and covered his forehead. Fenghua, you don't have to be disappointed, that guy Kakashi is just relying on the guidance of a genius father. Let's work harder, and we can graduate next year. Obito Uchiha looked excited, as if thinking of graduating next year after getting the beautiful picture of the ninja forehead guard appearing in front of the goddess Lin. A few traces of saliva flowed down while laughing, and the scene was once very embarrassing. Goo goo. Fenghua hadn't eaten for a day, and his stomach finally couldn't help protesting. Ah, Fenghua, let's go out to eat, I'll treat you to ramen. Uchiha Obito jumped up from the tatami mat with a flexible figure. Fenghua moved and found that his head was not hurting much, so he nodded and put on his clothes. You are so slow to seal the fire. Uchiha Obito complained beside him. What can Fenghua do? He is also very helpless. The clothes in his hand are not the same as those in his previous life, and he can't directly ask how to wear them. He can only try slowly. Finally, 10 minutes later, Fenghua got dressed, and left the house with Uchiha Obito a little tired. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 2, Refining Chakra. Coming to the street, Fenghua found that the nearby residents were all wearing clothes with the Uchiha clan emblem, each with their heads up and their chests upright, with a haughty look. It's as if a jonin can issue A-level ninjutsu at any time, destroying an entire street. Look, it's Uchiha sealing the fire, this shameful guy dares to come out. Lost our Uchiha's prestige completely, stupid. The shame of the Uchiha clan. Seeing Fenghua, several 6- and 7-year-old kids on the street gathered around to laugh, point, with disdain and contempt on their faces. Beside, Uchiha Obito shrugged and winked at Fenghua. Look, I didn't lie to you, did I? Hey, isn't this Uchiha Obito? No wonder, birds of a feather flock together, both of them are idiots, and they are a shame to my Uchiha clan. It's not unreasonable to be good friends. These little friends found Uchiha Obito, and immediately turned the muzzle and fired at him. Uchiha Obito didn't expect that he would also be attacked, and immediately exploded. Bastard, who are you calling an idiot? I'm going to be Hokage's man. The grown-ups have said that you are too small, you will never be able to open Sharingan in this life, idiot. You are an idiot, I will definitely open my eyes and become Hokage. Obito Uchiha clenched his fists and retorted angrily, but his voice was quickly drowned out by the ridicule of the other children. With half the salary, these little kids finally left satisfied, as if they had won a battle. Hey, Fenghua, why didn't you refute just now? Uchiha Obito cursed and lost, with a face of unwillingness and anger, he jumped and complained. Fenghua shrugged, I'm too lazy to argue with a bunch of brats. He is 6 years old this year, but his mental age is already in his 20s. He is really not bored enough to quarrel with a group of little kids in the street. Come on, don't you want to invite me to eat ramen? Uchiha Obito pouted, still angry, leading the way with muttering all the way, vowing to become Hokage and prove it to everyone. Fonghua followed behind, shaking his head slightly, and then he began to observe the surroundings. This is the hinterland of the Uchiha clan, and very few outsiders enter. It stands to reason that they are all members of the same clan, and the atmosphere should be good, but Fonghua found that the residents who come and go are very indifferent and arrogant, and don't take everything seriously. A kind of arrogance emanating from the inside out, the kind that makes people want to stay away from it when they see it. It's no wonder Konoha can't tolerate the Uchiha family. This family is really proud of the bones. Only people like Senju Hashirama, the of the ninja world, have enough mind to accommodate them. Hey, what are you muttering behind alone? We're here. Uchiha Obito shouted back. After sealing the fire, well, this is not Yao Ramen. Also, this is the home of the Uchiha clan, how could a crock of ramen be opened here? The two casually ordered a bowl of ramen and devoured it. Ah, I'm so full. Uchiha Obito shouted comfortably while clutching his stomach. Fonghua has been hungry for a whole day, and everything tastes delicious. Hearing this, he couldn't help but nodded, okay, we should go. If you want to live well in this world, you must have strong strength, so Fonghua decided. Dishwashing? Fonghua looked at Obito Uchiha with a face of disbelief. How did this future supervillain boss say this with confidence? Uchiha Obito put his hands on his hips and shouted out, of course, otherwise, do you have the money to pay for 2 bowls of ramen? Didn't you say you were treating guests? Fonghua was completely messed up. Obito Uchiha scratched his head, helping the old lady across the road in the morning. You gave all your pocket money to the old lady, right? Fenghua's eyes began to twitch. Ahahaha, Fenghua, you still understand me very well. After all, the old man needs help. As the future Hokage, I can't just sit idly by. Uchiha Obito looked proud. Fenghua was completely speechless, and all tears were shed. In the end, the two were taken to the back kitchen by the owner of the ramen shop, where they began to wash dishes for 2 hours, and at the same time received 2 hours of ideological and moral education from the owner of the ramen shop. Damn it, I washed the dishes for 2 hours. Fenghua was depressed in his heart. You must know that even in the most desolate time in his previous life, he never washed the dishes. Fenghua, you look so strange. Uchiha Obito was very puzzled, we used to be like this before. Well, it's not the first time. How did the owner of that ramen shop tolerate us eating Bawang's meal again and again? When he got home, Fenghua grabbed Obito Uchiha and asked him about cultivation. It's a pity that Obito Uchiha at this time is completely a scumbag, and he is a combat scumbag among the scumbags. Even the 3-body art is not effective at all times, let alone other, tall, cultivation methods. After driving away the scumbag Obito Uchiha, Fenghua began to think about the status quo. In the ramen shop, besides eating, he also collected enough information. It's Konoha's 39th year now, and there are at least 3 or 4 years before the Third War. I must rise rapidly in these few years. Well, Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.com. Kakashi has just graduated, which means that the Ninja Academy is on vacation now, and I want to practice alone. Fortunately, during the year at the Ninja Academy, the Chunin teachers were very reliable. They not only taught the 3-body technique, but also practice methods such as climbing trees and treading water to exercise chakra control ability, as well as shuriken throwing methods. After all, World War II had just ended, and there were constant frictions in the surrounding borders. No one could guarantee whether the war would break out again, so the 1-year study of these students was comparable to the few years of study of the later Naruto generation. Tall buildings rise from the ground. Let's start with chakra refining. Fenghua sat cross-legged on the tatami, closed his eyes, and entered the state of cultivation. The so-called chakra is actually the energy produced by the fusion of physical energy and spiritual energy after the two energies are balanced. Fenghua has previous memories, followed the map to find out, and soon succeeded in extracting chakra. Moreover, he discovered that his mental energy was enormous. Could it be the reason why I traveled here? There was surprise in Fenghua's eyes. With this huge amount of mental energy, he can continuously extract chakra as long as he pays attention to exercising his body. And my Sharingan. Fenghua's heartbeat suddenly missed a beat. This is a blood succession limit like a plug-in. After evolving into a kaleidoscope, not only can he summon Susanoo, who is both offensive and defensive, but he can also get 2 unique pupil skills. Uchiha Obito and Kakashi's Kamui, Itachi Amaterasu and Tsukimi are all powerful pupil techniques, but the restrictions are also very large. If they cannot become eternal kaleidoscopes, their vision will continue to decline until the binocular blindness. But these are still too far away. Fenghua suppressed the palpitations in his heart, returned to normal, and continued to refine chakra. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 3, Ninjutsu Scroll. Until noon, Uchiha Obito came to Fenghua's house on time and expressed that he would invite him to dinner. The corners of Fenghua's eyes twitched. He didn't want to eat Bawang's meal again, and then was taken to wash the dishes. It would be too embarrassing. I cook by myself. Fenghua rejected Uchiha Obito's request. You know how to cook. Obito Uchiha scratched his head, looking at Fenghua with a strange expression. Has your mother ever taught you? Fenghua's parents are both Konoha Chunin, but they died in last year's mission, so Fenghua lives alone now, which is very hard. Speaking of it, if it weren't for Uchiha Obito's care this year, Fenghua might already starve to death. Fenghua blinked his eyes twice, and said as a matter of course, if you haven't eaten pork, haven't you seen a pig running? I'll show you my hands now. Then he went into the kitchen and saw that there was nothing but pots and pans. Even the Michelin 3-star chef came, and there was nothing he could do. How much money do you have? Fenghua didn't have anything in his pocket anyway. Obito Uchiha took out from his pocket, and finally took out a few handfuls of change, which didn't seem like a lot. Fenghua grabbed it. Go shopping. Uchiha Obito looked confused. Hey, seal the fire, this is the only pocket money I have left this week. It doesn't matter, making it yourself at home is definitely cheaper than going out to eat. Fenghua took Uchiha Obito out, looked around, and asked him, how do I get to the vegetable market? Fenghua, do you really know how to cook? Uchiha Obito had given up hope. Half an hour later, 2 6-year-old children returned home with big bags and small bags. After turning off the fire, they immediately washed their hands, washed vegetables, and washed rice for cooking. Obito Uchiha squatted at the kitchen door, resting his chin with both hands, looking at Fenghua with a resentful expression. But after a few minutes, his face changed. It smells so good. Uchiha Obito's saliva almost flowed down. At this time, the kitchen was filled with a hot and sour aroma, which crazily stimulated Uchiha Obito's taste buds. He couldn't help leaning forward to look. Fenghua, what dish did you cook? It's so delicious. Hot and sour Chinese cabbage. Fenghua shrugged. This dish was very common in his previous life, but it is quite rare in this world. It smells so good. Uchiha Obito's saliva almost dripped into the pot. When Fenghua saw it, he immediately kicked him away. After the hot and sour Chinese cabbage, turn off the fire and make a plate of mashed potatoes, and put a few fresh green onions on it, so greedy that Obito Uchiha's teeth can't fit together. A few minutes later, the rice was cooked, and he closed the fire and filled a bowl for Uchiha Obito, saying, taste how it tastes. Yeah. Uchiha Obito was very excited, and after taking the bowl and chopsticks, he picked up a piece of Chinese cabbage. Hiss, so sour, so spicy, delicious. Then he ate another chopstick of mashed potatoes, and tears almost fell down. It's even more delicious than ramen. Woohoo, turn off the fire, it turns out you really know how to cook. That's great, I won't have to go out to eat anymore. Uchiha Obito crazily stuffed vegetables into his mouth while shedding tears, which made Fenghua Xiaobai lose his temper. Hey, Obito, you eat too much, save some for me, bastard. Finally, the two of them ate all the rice and vegetables, and lay on the ground covering their stomachs, belching so comfortably. Obito, what dream do you have? Fenghua asked suddenly. Dream? Of course I want to become Hokage. Obito Uchiha looked excited and clenched his fists. I will definitely be recognized by everyone. What about Lin? Feng Hua turned his head and looked at him very seriously. If you could only choose one between Lin and Hokage, who would you choose? Uchiha Obito froze there immediately, scratching his head in a tangled state. Why? Why can I only choose one of the two? Can't I have both? The reality won't give us too many choices. Feng Hua sighed, then changed the topic, and said with a smile, okay, take the soil, eat and drink enough, go and help the old lady cross the road, you can help her all afternoon. Oh. Bastard. I don't know why. Uchiha Obito was very tangled by the fire, and finally stood up and patted his buttocks to leave. Before leaving, he left a sentence, saying that he would have dinner with him when he came back. Then, Feng Hua found himself facing a very embarrassing scene, washing the dishes. Obito, you bastard, come back and wash the dishes for me. Outside the house, upon hearing the sound of sealing the fire, Uchiha Obito ran away. Helpless, Feng Hua had to wash the dishes by himself. After traveling here, he hasn't looked at this home carefully. This house is not big, but it is very tasteful. The kitchen, toilet, bedroom, and living room are small but well equipped. There is even a small backyard in the back with flowers and plants, and a small pool of several square meters. There are no fish in the pool, it is very clear. He then sealed off the fire and entered his parents' bedroom. If the parents in this life are ninjas, there may be some ninjutsu scrolls left behind. Feng Hua rummaged through boxes and cabinets, and finally found 2 scrolls in a wooden box. When I opened it up, I found that they were fire escape ninjutsu and illusion. Basically all the ninjas of the Uchiha clan have been exposed to Huiduan since childhood, and the ninjas who open Sharingan are proficient in illusion. This is the signature of Uchiha ninjas, so it is not surprising to find these 2 scrolls and seal the fire. Feng Hua immediately flipped through the Hua escape scroll. Yu reading www.yuukeumshu.com. Fire escape, Phoenix immortal fire art. Art fire escape fireball. Fire escape, fire dragon flame bullet. Fire escape, the art of dragon fire. In the scroll, there are a total of 4 Uchiha family's unique fire escape ninjutsu seals, as well as related training instructions. And they are all sea-level Huiduan, which is very in line with the Zongnan identity of Feng Hua's parents in this life. Then he opened the scroll of illusion. The art of Naraku seeing. Fox heart trick. Everything. Mind and body technique. There are 4 illusions in total, but these 4 illusions are all ordinary illusions, even ordinary ninjas can learn them. Hey, it's too miserable, at least get an exclusive illusion mirror for Sharingan. Feng Hua complained in his heart, but his mouth was full of joy. With these fire escape ninjutsu and illusion, it was enough for his initial training. However, before practicing ninjutsu, he still needs to learn 2 things, one is the seal, and the other is the precise control of chakra. The initiation of ninjutsu depends on the seal, and the speed of the seal is directly related to your life and death. Itachi Uchiha, the seal speed is 6 per second, and your seal speed is 2 per second. In the time you perform 1 ninjutsu, they have already issued 3 ninjutsu. If you don't die, who will die? Failure to precisely control chakra will cause unnecessary waste, or even worse. Just like in the early days of Naruto, everyone could abuse him. Why? It's because his chakra has been messed up like endocrine by 9 tails, he can't control it precisely, and he can't even perform the 3-body technique. Well, I refined the chakra all morning, practiced Madra in the afternoon, and practiced climbing trees and treading water at night. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 4, Practice. There are 12 seal gestures, Zi Chou Yi Mao Chen Si Wu Wei Shin Yu Su Hai, each seal has a unique gesture. Feng Hua practiced for the first time, and his fingers started to tremble after he had practiced the 4th hand seal gesture. By the 8th hand gesture, his little finger had faint cramps. After the last set of 12 exercises, his hands were sore and sore. Uncomfortable. After practicing for more than half an hour, the hand that sealed the fire started to cramp. Hiss. It hurts. But Feng Hua knew that he had to persevere. His body is only 6 years old now, and his plasticity is very large. When he gets older and his finger bones are shaped, practicing at that time may be half the result with twice the effort. Continue. Feng Hua gritted his teeth, drips of sweat dripped from his forehead, soaking his chest. He practiced one gesture after another, rested for a while when his hands were cramped, and then continued. Gradually, the sun slanted westward, and the sunset in the evening like a sea of blood, it covered the entire courtyard in an instant. Feng Hua's 10 fingers were all bruised, and the little finger and ring finger could not be joined together. Call. Feng Hua sat paralyzed on the green grass in the small courtyard. His hands were so sore, he wished he could have his limbs amputated. By the way, chakra doesn't know if it can repair these soreness. Feng Hua hurriedly closed his eyes, mobilizing his body's blue chakra to slowly pour into his hands. It can be seen that there is a light blue fluorescent flash on the 10 fingers of Feng Hua's hands, which is very dreamy under the setting sun. However, since he has never learned medical ninjutsu, no matter how he covers his hands and fingers with chakra, it can't really play a repairing role. Ugh. Sighing, the carefree Uchiha Obito suddenly came in. Shut off the fire, let's make dinner. Obito Uchiha had a happy smile on his face. This afternoon, he helped more than a dozen old ladies cross the road and achieved the Lifetime Achievement Award for helping others. He was in a very good mood, walked lightly, and was about to become a fairy. Then he saw Feng Hua sitting slumped on the ground. His hands were irregular like chicken feet. Obito Uchiha's eyes widened. Feng Hua, what happened to your hand? As he said that, he ran over and grabbed the hand that sealed the fire, touched it left, and looked right. With that old-fashioned look on his face, he almost brought it to his mouth to take 2 bites. Bastard, it hurts, let go. Feng Hua withdrew his hands, gave Uchiha Obito a blank look, and snorted, for dinner, I'll guide you. What? Why is this? Uchiha Obito looked depressed, but under the strength of Feng Hua, he finally gave in. But this guy, his IQ is definitely in arrears, and he repeatedly reminded him to turn off the fire, but when cooking, he still made many mistakes. He either forgot to add salt or used sugar as monosodium glutamate, and finally fried. Obito Uchiha scratched his head, his face full of confusion and embarrassment. Oh, fortunately the rice is cooked. Feng Hua had a helpless expression on his face, and after a meal, he stared at Obito Uchiha as he washed the dishes before letting him go. With the moon hanging high, Feng Hua soaked his hands comfortably in hot water for a while, and then began to practice climbing trees and treading water. These 2 training methods are all for the purpose of exercising the ability to control chakra. Some people are talented and can master it immediately, while others need a long time of practice to master it slowly. Fortunately, Feng Hua has more than 20 years of life experience. After overcoming the discomfort caused by fear of heights when climbing trees at the beginning, he quickly entered the state. It's kind of fun. Feng Hua stood on the tree trunk, his body parallel to the ground, and turned his head to look around from time to time. The surrounding scenery presented a novel vision due to the different viewing angles. After a while, he got used to this kind of vision and walked on the tree trunk. Walking, and finally slowly walking along the trunk to the branches, the whole person hangs upside down on the trunk like a bat. The gravity made Feng Hua's internal organs a little uncomfortable. He subconsciously operated chakra to protect the internal organs, and quickly eliminated this discomfort. Try treading water again. Feng Hua got down from the tree, walked to the small pool at the foot of the small courtyard, slowly covered the soles of his feet with chakra, and then lightly stepped on the water. Plop. Feng Hua fell into the water without saying a word. I go. Feng Hua swam out of the water, completely wet. It's unscientific. It's obviously smooth when climbing trees. Feng Hua once again covered the soles of his feet with chakra, and then stepped on the water. This time he was prepared. When the soles of his feet sank into the water, he shrank his feet. After going back and forth, the shoes were soaked, but he made no progress at all. It wasn't until the middle of the night, when the moon was in the sky, that the 6-year-old Feng Hua finally couldn't hold on anymore and yawned profusely. Yawn looks like we'll have to wait until tomorrow. Then, he turned off the fire, took a quick shower, and fell asleep. In the early morning of the next day, Feng Hua was woken up by Obito Uchiha next door, and made a simple breakfast in a daze. After eating, he found that his hands were no longer sore. Okay. Is this the golden finger I crossed? Quickly recover from soreness and fatigue. Feng Hua carefully inspected his little hands, they were white and tender, and his 10 fingers were as slender as green onions. Looking at them, Feng Hua was attracted by his own hands, and his eyes almost formed a heart shape. Oh, perfect hands, in the previous life, it would be a crime not to play the piano. Shaking his head and sighing for a while, Yu reading www.yuyukeangshu.com sealed the fire and began to refine chakra. Because of the huge spiritual energy in the mind, it is relatively easy for Feng Hua to refine chakra. After all, the body has 130 trillion cells, and energy can be extracted casually. Feng Hua felt the increase of chakra in his body bit by bit, and felt an inexplicable sense of fullness in his heart. This is what it feels like to be stronger. At noon, Obito Uchiha arrived on time again, clamoring for a big meal made by Feng Hua. It didn't bother me to close the fire, and cooked a meal for 3 people with a smile. Feng Hua, how did you make it for 3 people? Obito Uchiha was very puzzled when he saw the dishes on the dinner table. Feng Hua gave him a blank look, the other one is for your grandma. Uchiha Obito was stunned, and then tears came out. Woo, Feng Hua, you are so kind, I have decided to be your best friend for life. Uchiha Obito stepped on the dining table with 1 foot, roaring with an angry face, the veins on his forehead were exposed, and he had a crazy and cool expression that I was going to stew you as an appetizer, even if you resisted, it would be useless. The corners of Feng Hua's eyes twitched, and he kicked him off the dining table. Sorry, he's a bit of a clean freak. Finally, Obito Uchiha, with tears in his eyes, packed a copy and hurried back to the house next door. Feng Hua shook his head and smiled wryly, this guy Obito is really kind. Thinking about what he did in later generations as a Fei, releasing 9 tails to destroy my village, directly killing his wife Xian Jionai, and provoking a series of wars afterwards, it's like 2 different people. Is this the so-called deeper love, deeper hatred? After lunch, Feng Hua looked at his perfect hands and started to practice not seal again. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 5, Practice Fire Escape Ninjutsu. A few days later, Feng Hua's backyard. Zi, Cho, In, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Su, Hai. Feng Hua said every word, while making seals while reading, although he stumbled, he was able to complete the 12 gestures smoothly. At night, he sealed the fire, climbed the tree and stepped on the water. After a few days of drowning, he was finally able to stand on the water smoothly. The chakra under his feet seemed to be a part of his body, and he could feel the softness and buoyancy of the water. He walked on the water, running, he gradually mastered the rules. In the end, he will practice to form an instinct. As long as he touches the water, the chakra will automatically wrap the soles of his feet, and he will no longer have to worry about falling into the water. And after these days of crazy practice, Feng Hua also found that his body did have a golden finger, that is, no matter how crazy he trained the day before, he could recover to his best condition after waking up the next day. Of course, it didn't help the injury. Call. There is no problem with chakra's control, and the seal has been completed. Feng Hua's eyes lit up, and his hands quickly formed seal. Transfiguration. Boom. A puff of smoke flashed, and then a little boy wearing binoculars appeared there. It was Obito Uchiha. No, it should be Obito Uchiha who turned into Obito Uchiha appeared there. Feng Hua took out the mirror and looked at himself. He was exactly the same as Obito, even his eyes were subtle and whistling. He was very satisfied. Untie. Afterwards, Feng Hua practiced the avatar technique and the substitute technique, and they all succeeded at once. After all, it is an adult's heart, and the 3-body technique is too simple for me. Feng Hua's eyes glowed slightly, and he finally couldn't help it, took out the fire escape scroll, and began to practice the fire escape ninjutsu in it. Art Fire Escape Fireball. Siwation Hainu Nin. Sealing the fire quickly formed a seal, and the chakra in his body surged suddenly, and as he formed a seal, it quickly turned into a scorching force and gathered in his throat. Feng Hua's eyes widened, and for a moment he felt as if there was a raging fire in his throat, the intense heat scorching him non-stop. He couldn't help but let go of the seal gesture. In an instant, the high temperature in the throat dissipated. Hoo. Feng Huo was panting heavily, with lingering fear in his heart. Just now, he was really going to be burned to death in the future. 1, 2, 3. Feng Huo stroked his throat and spoke softly, "Very good, the vocal cords are not damaged. The fire of Hao Huichio is indeed the fire escape ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan." Feng Huo remembers that in the original book, Uchiha Sasuke often practiced this ninjutsu by the lake, and he even did this as the protagonist, which shows that his practice is not so difficult. Turn off the fire and relax, then continue practicing. Art Fire Escape Fireball. Ah! A surge of air suddenly gushed out of Feng Huo's throat, as if his stomach was rushing upwards. He hurriedly dismissed the seal gesture, and then retched. "Nima, this ninjutsu seal style, can't it be wrong?" After several consecutive failures, Feng Huo was inevitably a little discouraged. "No, it's just a powerful fireball jutsu. If you can't even learn it, how can you learn other advanced ninjutsu in the future? Continue." Feng Huo calmed down and kept practicing the Hao fireball technique. Gradually, the sky became darker and darker, a dark cloud blocked the moon, and he couldn't see his fingers. "Call." Suddenly, a trace of sparks overflowed from the mouth of the fire seal, but it went out in an instant, like a hallucination. Successful. In the dark, Feng Huo seemed to have caught something, but when he wanted to make persistent efforts, he found that the chakra in his body had been exhausted. "Oh, it's still not enough." Seal shook his head and sighed, then couldn't hold on any longer, and went back to the house and fell asleep. Su Shi has been practicing fire escape ninjutsu intensively before going to bed. After Feng Huo fell asleep and fell into a dream, he was also practicing. There was no time in the dream. Just as Feng Huo was immersed in the joy of practicing, a shuriken suddenly struck him from a distance. The shot came, and it was inserted straight into his heart. Feng Huo looked up in disbelief, and in the distance, a man wearing a spiral mask, only revealing a Sengoku Sharingan, was staring at him faintly. "Uchiha. Obito? How come?" In a trance, Feng Huo opened his eyes suddenly, only to realize that all this was just a dream, but his back was already soaked. Hoo. It was not yet dawn at this time, and the surroundings were silent, only a few insects in the small courtyard were chirping indistinctly. Feng Huo lost all sleepiness, put on his clothes and walked to the small courtyard. The next door to the courtyard is Uchiha Obito's home. Really, the future supervillain boss lives next door, so the pressure is inexplicably high. The current Obito is a good person, no matter what excessive things Feng Huo did to him, he will choose to forgive, but how long can this friendship last? After experiencing what happened to Lin, Uchiha Obito can even attack his teacher and mother Xian Jonai, his young best friend. No sense of security at all. Wait, that's not right, the current Obito hasn't even opened Sharingan, but I have already opened my eyes. Feng Huo focused his attention on his eyes, and in an instant, a burst of pupil power acted on his eyes, and his black and white eyes immediately revealed an ominous aura. A hook to right sharing eyes. Under the dim moonlight, the Goyu in Feng Huo's eyes was slowly spinning, and everything around him became clear under the eyes of these riding wheels. In the grass more than 10 meters away, a small insect screamed with its mouth wide open. Feng Huo can even see the broken leaves in its mouth. A gust of wind blew by, bringing with it a few fragments of leaves. Feng Huo stretched out his hand almost subconsciously, and when he reacted, those few leaves in the air were impressively in his palm. Amazing! Feng Huo swallowed his saliva, only felt that he was extremely powerful at this time, and a thought that I was invincible came out from the deepest part of his heart, and the pupil power in Shulunyan seemed to be telling him, to destroy, go conquer. Feng Huo took a deep breath, suppressed the throbbing in his heart, and slowly released Sharingan. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. It's really ominous. If you don't have enough will, I'm afraid you will be conquered by these eyes. Since God gave me a chance to start all over again, and this pair of Sharingan, I must use my will to control it and stand on the highest stage in this world. Will. In the original book, what the 3 generations of Hokage have been talking about is the will of fire. To put it simply, it is protection. Protect the village, relatives, friends, and future generations. Although this guarding mind will not greatly increase a person's strength, it will strengthen a person's will. In battle, he will be more heroic and fearless, sacrificing his life. However, Fenghua has just come to this world, and when he came to this village, he doesn't really know more than one palm, so how could he accept such a will? Gorky once said in his previous life, even a little self-restraint can make a person stronger. Perhaps, I can exercise my own willpower while practicing. Wait, why do you feel a sense of familiarity inexplicably? Then, two men in dark green tight-fitting combat uniforms jumped out of Fenghua's mind. They had eyebrows as thick as thumbs, and they smiled brightly with chrysanthemums on their faces, with thumbs up, and a white tooth gleaming at the corner of their mouths glow. The corners of the eyes of Fenghua twitched. In the original book, Metki and Rock Lee trained in this way: if I can't jump the rope 100 times, I can kick it 200 times, and if I can't kick the rope 200 times, I can run around the leaves twice. Relying on this kind of training, they not only gained great strength, but also their will is particularly firm, never wandering and lost, comparable to gold and stone. Damn it, I won't become like them, will I? Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 6, Exercise. In the early morning of the next day, Fenghua got up early and made breakfast for 3 people. After eating his own share, he grabbed the other 2 and ran to the Uchiha Obito family next door. Obito, are you up yet? Hehe, Fenghua is here, come in quickly. In the room, a kind old woman bent over and walked out, looking at Fenghua with a smile. This old grandma is Uchiha Obito's grandma. Grandma. Fenghua smiled and handed over the breakfast in his hand. Hehe, thank you so much, Fenghua. Seeing Fenghua being so filial, the old man had a happy smile on his face. Walk into Daitu's house, seal the fire and look around, and find that it is quite similar to his house. Fenghua, you sit down, I'll ask Obito to get up. The old woman said with a smile. No need, Grandma, I just came here to ask, do you have sandbags and other props that can help exercise physical strength? Fenghua asked directly. The old lady tilted her head and thought for a while, then nodded. Ah, I remember that Obito's father had always exercised because he couldn't open his eyes when he was a child. Later, when he opened his eyes, he threw away all the props. If you don't mind, just collect them secretly, it should be in the small warehouse in the backyard now. It is said to be a small warehouse, but it is actually more like a doghouse. Sealing the fire got into the upper body, and it took a long time to get out a lot of scattered props. What leggings, weight-bearing sandbags, iron blocks, and bandages, there are a lot of things. Fenghua, do you want to practice physical skills? The old lady sighed next to her. Our 2 families have always been neighbors, and even our fates are so similar. It's really hard for Sharingan to open your eyes. Of course, Fenghua would not tell her that he had opened his eyes. He said with a smile, Grandma, if you have cultivated physical skills to the highest level, it is no worse than Sharingan. In the final battle in the original book, Meitikai opened the last dead door of the 8-door Duanjia, and Ludao Madara, who opened the eyes of reincarnation with explosive force in an instant, shouted that he was falling, and almost caught him. Fenghua, you are still young, you must pay attention to your body when exercising taijutsu. The old lady is indeed very kind and kind, she doesn't look like a member of the Uchiha family at all. I see, thank you Grandma. After thanking him, Fenghua moved the batch of props home with great difficulty, and then began to arm himself. He strapped a kilo of sandbags to his legs to exercise his leg muscles. Then a half-kilogram sandbag was tied to the arm to exercise the arm muscles. After installing these few things, he immediately noticed the change. When walking, it seemed that the gravity of the center of gravity became stronger, and when he made seals, it became more and more difficult and his hands were very stiff. This is just the beginning, you will get used to it soon. Of course, Fenghua will not be easily discouraged. From morning to night, he carries these burdens and wants to get used to them as soon as possible. Boom! Hiss, it hurts to death. Falling from the tree again, Fenghua struggled to stand up while rubbing his butt. After tying up the load, climbing trees that used to be easy seemed strange, and Chakra couldn't keep his balance at all. As for treading water, let alone. Hey, am I being ambitious like this? It stands to reason that since he has opened his eyes, he should concentrate on developing Sharingan. Relying on Sharingan, he can reach the pinnacle of life. But, thinking of the perverts in the Fourth Ninja World War, it's really alright with Sharingan only? Thinking about it, Fenghua's eyes gradually became firm. Since he has come here for a while, he must not spend his life in a dull way. Even if he can't reach the peak in this life, he will die on the way to the peak. In the next few days, besides chakra refining and seal practice, Fenghua stopped the practice of climbing trees and treading water, but started exercising, sweating in the small courtyard every day, doing push-ups, sit-ups, and squatting. Every workout imaginable is insanely sweaty. With such crazy training, Fenghua's body will inevitably be overwhelmed, and the daily food is enough to fill his stomach, so it is inevitable that Fenghua will become thinner and weaker. Fenghua, you train too hard like this, your body won't be able to bear it. Obito felt distressed seeing Fenghua getting thinner day by day. It's okay, just get used to it. While closing the fire, he was cooking, and he grabbed the iron pan and shook it a few times to make the fire more even. He was still strapped with a weight on his arm at this time, but he seemed to be okay. On his thin arm, a trace of thin muscle had already appeared. After lunch, I closed the fire to drive away Obito Uchiha who was chattering non-stop, and continued to exercise. After a few days of crazy exercise, Fenghua has gotten used to this weight, and then he started climbing trees and treading water, getting used to these weights, which made him more comfortable in controlling his body, and chakra became obedient. Crack, crack, crack. Fenghua walked on the small pool, under his feet, circles of ripples spread, reflecting Fenghua's blurry little face. Then, he started making seals. Siwation Hainunin. Art Fire Escape Fireball. A violent force condensed in Fenghua's throat, and he blissed to the heart, blowing forward with his mouth. Boom! A ball of fire the size of a basketball spewed out of his mouth, hitting a dry tree trunk in front of him. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. Kaka. The moment the fireball hit the tree trunk, it exploded, directly blowing the tree apart. Fenghua's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe it. The last time I practiced this ninjutsu was a few days ago, and I failed every time. I didn't expect to succeed once. Feeling the power contained in his body, Fenghua seemed to understand something. What? Suddenly, Fenghua's feet softened, and he fell directly into the small pool. It turned out that he was distracted, and the chakra on the soles of his feet changed slightly, breaking the balance. Oh, it's still not professional enough. Fenghua crawled out of the small pool, took a quick shower, and then began to add weight to himself. Before, he carried 1 kilogram on each of his legs, but now, it has increased to 2 kilograms, directly doubling the weight. The same goes for the hands, from half a kilogram to 1 kilogram. The weight doubled directly, making Fenghua's limbs heavy, and then felt stiff, and the blood seemed to be blocked. Fenghua didn't stop, and immediately started running around the small courtyard, and soon, his blood began to evaporate. So tired. After running for more than 10 minutes, Fenghua was out of breath. No, run for another 10 minutes. Feng Yao gritted his teeth and insisted, his eyes showed firmness. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Finally 10 minutes was up. Snapped. Fenghua just slumped on the ground, or in other words, he was dragged to the ground by the weight of his hands and feet. The sweat on his body quickly with the weeds on the ground. Hoo, why does it feel like it's getting heavier? The world spun for a while, Fenghua's eyes went dark, and he passed out directly. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 7, Pharmacist Nanoyu. Waking up again, before Fenghua opened his eyes, he smelled a faint fragrance, similar to the smell of disinfectant, but even better. He couldn't help but open his eyes, and what he saw was a white ceiling. Here is. Ah, Fenghua, you finally woke up, you idiot, you actually exercised until you passed out, will you take care of yourself? Uchiha Obito's voice came from the side, quite emotional, even a little out of breath. It was hard for me to muster up the courage to confess to Lin, but you ruined it all in the end. Fonghua blinked his eyes twice, and then remembered what happened before he fainted. As for the confession. If it weren't for me, you might have been issued a good person card by this time, and then you would be crying in a corner. Fonghua snorted, really? You really don't need to thank me, this is what I should do. Bastard, am I thanking you? Uchiha Obito quickly left violently. Isn't it? Fonghua pretended to be tender. No, he was only 6 years old, and he was already tender. Obito Uchiha trembled all over, even the goggles on his forehead trembled. Fortunately, at this moment, a young female doctor walked in. Stop the fire, right? You're awake. The female doctor was wearing a white coat, with long golden hair and eyes, and looked very gentle. Ah, hello doctor. Obito Uchiha saw her, stood up and asked, Doctor, is he all right after sealing the fire? Fonghua fainted because of excessive exercise, which caused the body's nutrition to not keep up. As long as you eat more meat, you can replenish it. The female doctor smiled softly. Eat meat? Uchiha Obito froze. Given the conditions of his family and Fonghua's family, although it is not impossible to eat meat, it is impossible to eat it every day, not to mention the energy consumed by exercising. Eating an extra piece of meat at each meal can supplement it. The female doctor seemed to see the problem, and said with a smile, It's okay, if you don't have any money, I can lend it to you. Really? Thank you so much. Uchiha Obito almost jumped up. Fonghua, who was lying on the hospital bed, frowned, and said, Doctor, will this cause you trouble? After all, you are just a doctor. Doctor? I'm still a ninja. The female doctor laughed. Ninja? Medical ninja? Fonghua looked at the female doctor, inexplicably, suddenly felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen her somewhere. In the original book, she must have appeared, but in what identity? Blonde hair, and these old-fashioned glasses. Wait, why do these glasses look like they are worn by a pharmacist? Ah yes. She is Nanoyu the pharmacist, Konoha's medical ninja, and later the director of an orphanage. She took in the pocket of her childhood, and even gave her surname to the pocket. No wonder they look familiar. Wait. Fonghua blinked his eyes twice, but his heart suddenly felt cold, and even his back was filled with chill. Yakushi Nanoyu, before becoming the director of the orphanage, seems to be a member of Konoha roots. Danzo's men. Ah, Fonghua, are you cold? Obito Uchiha suddenly rushed forward, you seem to be shaking. Fonghua looked at Obito Uchiha, tears were about to flow out, no, I'm excited, yes, I'm so excited. I finally have meat to eat, woo woo. Oh my god, I'm only 6 years old, has Danzo already taken a fancy to me? Could it be that the roots have infiltrated into the Uchiha clan and found out that they have opened their eyes? But it's impossible to think about it. After all, only he knows that he opened his eyes, and he rarely used it. The only time was in the middle of the night some time ago. The chance of being discovered is very low. You two are children of the Uchiha clan, right? Yakushi Nanoyu said with a smile, although I am willing to lend you money, you will have to pay it back in the future. Of course, I will not fail to pay back the money owed to others. Obito Uchiha said loudly, after all, I will become the man of Hokage in the future. Just at this moment, a young figure walked by outside the ward. It was a woman with fair complexion and a tall figure, especially with a pair of exaggerated plumpness, as heavy as a papaya. With that neat golden hair, even if you couldn't see her, even Fonghua knew who she was. Tsunade, one of Konoha Sannin. Well, Tsunade Miku is 5th Hokage. That's right, Obito, I can't see that you are so ambitious that you want to be a man of the 5th generation, aha. Then you have to work hard. Yakushi Nanoyu patted Uchiha Obito's head with a smile, and then ordered the fire to be sealed, then turned and chased in the direction Tsunade left. Master Tsunade, please wait a moment. There was a faint voice of conversation between the two outside the ward. Fonghua breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that Yakushi Nanoyu appeared here not for me, but for Tsunade. That old schemer in Danzo is too dangerous, he will do whatever it takes to achieve his goal, and now he can hide as far as he can. Fenghua, are you still brooding over what happened before? Uchiha Obito sat beside Fenghua's hospital bed, dragging his chin and looking at him. That guy Kakashi is really hateful, but I have to admit, he is indeed a genius. What are you talking about? Fenghua laughed. It has nothing to do with Kakashi, it's me. I don't want to live a mediocre life anymore. I want to become a strong man, it's as simple as that. Well said. A young man's voice suddenly came from outside the ward, and then a figure that Fenghua looked familiar appeared in front of him. You are. Fenghua saw him, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly. Isn't this guy the father of Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke? Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com Uchiha Fugaku. It's just that he is only 25 years old at this time, and Uchiha Itachi probably hasn't yet. I am Fugaku Uchiha. At this time, Uchiha Fugaku has not yet become the patriarch of Uchiha, but is just an ordinary member of the Konoha garrison, but his talent has been gradually revealed, and his status in the Uchiha clan is also thriving. Master Fuyue, hello. Fenghua and Uchiha Obito saluted honestly. Among the Uchiha clan, they pay great attention to these false rituals. Even if Fenghua is dissatisfied, when his strength is weak, he can only submit. Uchiha Fugaku smiled and said, I am very optimistic about you, hehe, when you have the determination to become a strong person, Sharingan will give you back what you want, and I will wait for you in front, young brat. After finishing speaking, Uchiha Fugaku patted his and left. The corners of Fenghua's eyes twitched. Damn, he must not have read the almanac when he went out today. Hey Fenghua, who was that uncle just now? He looks very powerful. Uchiha Obito ran to close the ward and asked back. Didn't he say it? His name is Uchiha Fugaku, and he should be a member of the Konoha police force. Fenghua replied cautiously, even if someone eavesdropped, no one would care. That's right, Konoha police force, I don't know when I can join. Uchiha Obito looked forward. Fenghua said, Obito, I feel much better, why don't we leave the hospital now? No. Uchiha Obito was not happy when he heard it, and he shouted confidently, the doctor's sister just wanted to lend us money, and we haven't got the money yet, how can we leave? Bank up a fire. You're so right, I'm speechless. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 8, Provocative. When leaving the hospital, the pharmacist No Nayu really lent money to Fenghua, and promised that if he was short of money in the future, he could go to her. Fenghua knew that although the woman in front of him was a member of the root group, she was kind in nature and especially liked children, otherwise she would not leave the root group in the future and become the director of an orphanage. If Uchiha Fugaku borrowed money from him, Fenghua would not agree to anything, but Fenghua could borrow money from Yakushi Nanoyu with peace of mind. Thank you, sister, by the way, I don't know your name yet. Fenghua blinked his big clear eyes, with an obedient expression on his face that the baby is a good boy. My sister's name is Pharmacist No Nayu. She stroked Fenghua's black hair and smiled softly. Perhaps, she is the kindest person among Konoha's roots. Fenghua lowered his head slightly, feeling a lot of emotions in his heart, such a good person did not end well in the end. Can I change her fate? Fenghua's heart suddenly tightened. It seems that it is not difficult to change the fate of a certain character in the original work, but when he really wants to do so, he has the illusion of challenging the established fate. But immediately, he suppressed this thought. After all, he is only a 6-year-old boy at this time, and it is really too early to talk about this. Saying goodbye to pharmacist Nanoyu with Obito Uchiha, Fenghua returned to his home. Fenghua, I'm going to buy meat. Obito Uchiha took the money and was very happy. Your body is too thin, you must make up for it. Okay, but if you meet an old lady who wants to cross the road, please don't give money to the other party. Fenghua spread his hands, feeling very helpless. Hey, I see. Obito Uchiha scratched his head and smiled awkwardly, turned around and ran outside. By the way, my load. He was hospitalized before the fire was sealed off, and the weight was taken off his body. At this time, he tied it up again, and suddenly felt his body sink. It seems that he hasn't fully recovered yet. Fonghua gritted his teeth and stood up straight, but I can persevere. Then, he began to do recovery training, walking slowly in the backyard, and at the same time, his chakra was also circulating in the body, trying to stimulate the activity of cells. Pharmacist No Naoyu is a root member, but she is a good person and a medical ninja. I can definitely learn medical ninjutsu from her. Fenghua's eyes lit up suddenly, and he couldn't restrain himself immediately. Fenghua's body recovers at an extraordinary speed, but it has no significant effect on the injury. It can be exercised, but who can guarantee that it will not be injured? Not even Konoha's blue beast can guarantee it. Besides, after becoming a ninja, you have to go out to do missions frequently, and injuries are inevitable. Learning medical ninjutsu must be on the agenda, and the sooner the better. Besides, it is not a few years since the third war in the ninja world. Currently, Konoha medical ninjutsu has the highest level. I'm afraid it is Princess Tsunade, one of the Sannin. Unfortunately, Tsunade should have suffered from blood phobia at this time, and I am from the Uchiha clan. The relationship between the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan is definitely not as good as imagined. Therefore, the target of sealing the fire can only be the pharmacist No Naoyu. As he walked, Fenghua gradually got used to it, and then raised his hands while walking, and began to practice not seal. Zi, Cho, In, Mao, Chen, Si, Wu, Wei, Shen, Yu, Su, Hai. The hand seal gesture of sealing the fire is already very standard, but the speed is still not good. This needs to be practiced hard, and it cannot be faked. The sun was getting higher and higher, and the recovery training of sealing the fire had been done for more than an hour. At this time, he was sweating profusely, but his eyes looked outside from time to time. Why hasn't Obito come back yet? There is an ominous feeling about sealing the fire. This guy, wouldn't he be unable to walk when he sees the old lady on the side of the road, crying and shouting that he must send her to the other side of the road to be reconciled? When Fenghua was speculating about Obito Uchiha with his greatest malice, there was a sudden sound of fighting and muffled humming from the street outside. This seems to be Obito's voice. Fenghua was stunned, and then rushed outside. Ha ha ha, you are so stupid, you want to share sharing? One idiot. Playing with that Fenghua every day, of course they are a pair of idiots, ha ha ha. The guy who sealed the fire is really an eyesore. It would be shameful enough to challenge Kakashi to be knocked out. I didn't expect to practice gymnastics and fainted now. It's ridiculous. Of course, that guy must know that he can't open Sharingan, so he switched to physical training, otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to graduate. Two poor fools. Several Uchiha children pushed Uchiha Obito fiercely, and their words were full of cynicism. Hey, what are you holding in your hand? Is it meat? Huh, you're really rich. We can't even afford to eat meat. Huh, Obito, can you share some of the meat with us? You bastards. Uchiha Obito hugged the meat in his arms tightly, glaring at these guys angrily. Don't go too far. Excessive? Throwing such a big person to our Uchiha clan, you and that guy from Fenghua are much more than us. Yes, beat him. Beat. Clap clap. As the bottom-ranked student in ninja studies, Uchiha Obito's combat power at this time was not even as good as Jean 5 scum, and coupled with the fact that the opponent had a large number of people, he was soon beaten to the ground, groaning and speechless. On both sides of the street, a few Uchiha people passed by, but they didn't respond when they saw this scene. It's normal for children to fight. Stop. Fenghua finally arrived, you guys want to die. Seeing the tragic state of Obito Uchiha at this time, Fenghua could hardly control his pupil power that was about to go berserk. Yo, isn't this the Uchiha sealing fire? Huh, you have finally come out, you little turtle. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. I heard that you fainted after practicing gymnastics, it's really shameful. My Uchiha clan, how can there be people like you? Idiots should be honest and set up street stalls, what kind of ninjas are they? Damn yourself, idiot, idiot. Before sealing the fire, when he went out with Obito Uchiha, he met a few Uchiha children who were sarcastic. At that time, he didn't even bother to argue with them, but now, he felt that he couldn't bear it. What, do you want to do it? Have you learned the three-body technique? You idiot. Ha ha ha, look at how stupid he is. Uchiha Obito finally got over his strength at this time. He lay on the ground and saw Fenghua, and shouted, Fenghua, you go, your injury is not healed, you can't fight. At this time, Obito Uchiha was miserable, his clothes were torn several times, his face was black, covered with bloodstains, and his mouth seemed to have lost a tooth. Fenghua's pupils shrank slightly suddenly, and there was a faint blood in the air, and the power of the violent pupils was almost uncontrollable. Fenghua reacted quickly, narrowing his eyes immediately, and at the same time began to seal. Siwation Hainu Nin. Haha, he is actually forming a seal. Idiot, who does he think he is, who can also use ninjutsu? Hey, this seal gesture is, the fireball technique? Nanny? How's fireball technique? I'm going to be scared to death, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, stupid, how could this fire escape ninjutsu be used so easily, idiot? Fenghua narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly, fire escape, the art of fireball. As soon as Fenghua spit out his mouth, hot flames spewed out of his mouth, turning into a ball of basketball-sized flames, hitting those Uchiha kids straight. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 9, Genius. Nanny? How is this possible? It really succeeded. The skill of how fireball is difficult for ordinary ninja to learn. How can an idiot like Fenghua? Idiot, what are you still doing in a daze, escape? Seeing that the fireball was getting closer and closer, these Uchiha children just woke up like a dream, screamed and jumped to the side, falling to the ground one by one, in a state of embarrassment. Boom! The fireball exploded, and the surging heat wave instantly spread in all directions, and faint sparks fell on the bodies of these Uchiha children, causing them to scald and scream. On the ground, Obito Uchiha stared blankly at Fenghua, as if he saw Professor Do Minjun, an alien, with disbelief in his face, doubt in disbelief, suspicion in disbelief with shock and shock. The chakra in Fenghua's body lost a third of it following this ninjutsu, and his face turned pale. At the same time, the hostility in his heart also vented a lot, and the violent pupil power in his pupils finally faded away. Go, so Fenghua opened his eyes and looked coldly at these Uchiha children lying on the ground and screaming. Just now, who hit the ground? Fenghua stepped forward, speaking in a low voice, but under the powerful fireball just now, he had a sense of power. Fenghua, you, how could you learn the skill of how fireball? Cheating, he must have cheated. Bastard, how can I be defeated by such an idiot, Before he finished speaking, the little kid was kicked away by Fenghua, and this time he fell like a dog. Fenghua, forget it. Obito struggled to get up, not wanting to cause trouble for Fenghua himself. Forget it? Are you kidding me? A proud Uchiha child gritted his teeth and stood up, snorting coldly, Uchiha seals the fire, don't think it's great to be able to use the fireball technique. Hee, my dad is in the police force, the vice captain of the team, you wait for me, you dare to use the fireball technique to attack the clansmen on the street, you are doomed. Hearing this, Fenghua couldn't help but frown, but since he had already done it, he naturally wouldn't be cowardly. A person like you who can only rely on his father and is worthless is the real waste. Fenghua said lightly, and kicked him over at the same time, directly knocking him over. Uchiha Fenghua, you bastard. The child gritted his teeth and climbed up, his body was covered with dust, his hands clenched into fists, his veins were exposed, and he said angrily, you remember it for me, my name is Uchiha Rikuna, one day, I will completely defeat you. Let's go. Uchiha Rikuna turned and left. The Uchiha child who was screaming on the ground staggered up, looked at Fenghua with fear on his face, and then left behind Uchiha Rana. Fenghua squinted his eyes, there will be more and more adults watching, if the disturbance continues, it may lead to even bigger troubles, otherwise the group of brats will have to be beaten to death. But, Uchiha Luonai. Hee, Ninja Academy for the next school year, I hope you can realize your mistakes, otherwise. Obito, are you alright? Fenghua helped Obito Uchiha up, and after checking, he found that he looked miserable, but the most serious injury was a missing tooth, and the others were all skin traumas, so he didn't even need to go to the hospital. That's right, it's just a group of little kids, even if there are many people, they won't be able to do much harm after all. Fenghua breathed a sigh of relief. Damn it, all my teeth fell out. Obito threw the meat in his arms to Fenghua, then bent down to find the missing teeth, and put them away very preciously. Don't worry, you are only 6 years old, you will definitely grow teeth again. Fenghua comforted. I hope so, it's just, Fenghua, are you hiding something from me, that was done just now, what on earth did you? Obito Uchiha's eyes almost glowed green. He is very eager to gain strong strength and the approval of others. And the sealing of the fire at this time undoubtedly gave him great hope. In the last school year of Ninja Academy, the result of Fenghua was slightly better than that of Obito, but the difference was not far away. How could such a grade be able to use the fire escape fireball technique? Cough. Fenghua coughed softly, then pointed to the adults nearby who were pointing, and said, let's talk about it when we go home. Okay, but you have to tell me the truth. Hi. At the headquarters of the Konoha police force, a message was transmitted from below at an extremely fast speed, and soon entered the eyes of the higher-ups. Uchiha Fenghua. This name is familiar. Uchiha Yamano, the captain of the Konoha police force, touched his chin and looked at the message. Successful use of the fire escape fireball technique at the age of 6, is it a genius? I remember I was able to use this ninjutsu when I was 9 years old. Fuyue. Uchiha Sano shouted towards the outside. Hi. Soon, someone pushed the door open and entered, Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com is Uchiha Fugaku, who had a relationship with Fenghua at Konoha Hospital. Go and investigate this kid. Uchiha Yamano handed him a note. Uchiha Fugaku took it respectfully, and when he saw it, his eyes couldn't help being stunned. It's him? Why, do you know this little guy? Uchiha Yamano asked him. His name is Uchiha Fenghua. I just met him at Konoha Hospital this morning. He is a self-motivated kid. I'm sorry, I only know so much, Captain. Uchiha Fugaku didn't hide anything. Well, let's check again, this kid may be a genius of my Uchiha clan, hehe. Uchiha Yamano smiled like an old mountain fox. Genius? Uchiha Fugaku was stunned, and then looked at the information behind the note. What, he just used the fire escape fireball technique. He is only 6 years old. Seeing the shock in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes, Uchiha Yamano smiled, be careful to keep it secret. If it is confirmed that he is a genius, then we must protect this little guy. After all, the war has just ended, and even the village is not peaceful. Soon, the same information also appeared in several powerful families of Konoha. The Thousand Hands family. Tsunade dismissed this information and ignored it at all, while the rest of the elders of the Senchu family, due to their limited strength and knowledge, have gradually withdrawn from the Konoha stage. Even if they have any ideas, it will not help. Hyuga family. In the original book, the Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan fell in love and killed each other in order to compete for the title of the most powerful family in Konoha, but at this time, the Senju family had not completely withdrawn from the Konoha stage. The Bo family is not as sensitive as the later generations, so this information is also shelved. Konoha, Fire Up the Sky Chapter 10, Monitor. Siwation Hainunin. Art Fire Escape Fireball. In the backyard of Fenghua's home, Uchiha Obito's cheeks swelled into 2 balls, and he blew forward frantically, but his face turned blue, his eyes turned white, and there was no spark. Damn it, why can you succeed but I can't? Uchiha Obito panted heavily with a decadent expression on his face. Beside, Fenghua hugged his shoulders and joked, Obito, you can't do this. First, you have to extract enough chakra. Second, your seal gestures are not standard. You obviously messed up the last 2 gestures. Wrong, moreover, even if the 2 conditions are met, you still need to practice non-stop to succeed. After all, the Fire Escape Fireball Jutsu is the unique fire escape ninjutsu of our Uchiha clan. It is not difficult, but I am sorry for its name. Fenghua, you bastard. Uchiha Obito looked at Fenghua unwillingly. A few days ago, he was still standing at the tail of the grade crane on the same front. Now the old driver of Fenghua suddenly overtook, which obviously made Uchiha Obito couldn't adapt. Sigh, I just spent your time chasing girls on cultivation. Fenghua waved his hands happily, very expertly. When Uchiha Obito heard this, he became even more unwilling, clenched his fists and shouted, "No, starting today, I will train with you too. It's up to you, but I have to remind you that cultivation is a boring and cumbersome thing, you have to be mentally prepared." Fenghua said seriously. "Of course, I'm going to be Hokage's man." Uchiha Obito roared, very Naruto style. Afterwards, Fenghua made braised pork in triplicate, except for the two of them, and made it for Obito's grandma. Unfortunately, Obito's grandma was too old to bite, and all of them ended up in the stomachs of the two of them. "I'm so full." Uchiha Obito lay on the ground rubbing his belly, enjoying it with a look of bewilderment. Fenghua ate a lot of braised pork, his body was replenished with energy, and his face became ruddy a lot. He glanced at Obito, kicked him directly, and snorted, "Now is not the time to rest, Obito, hurry up. Get up, let's start training." "Nanny? No. But my stomach hasn't digested it yet." Uchiha Obito's sloth broke out. "Practicing the knot gesture will not affect your digestion." Fenghua brutally pulled Obito to the yard, and then urged him to practice the knot gesture. Of course, Fenghua himself was not idle, he was also practicing. However, the emphases of the two exercises are different. Uchiha Obito mainly practiced the standard of knot seal gestures, while Fenghua is based on the standard, adding speed. As the saying goes, there is no harm without comparison, while Obito Uchiha was practicing stumblingly, while watching the sealing speed of the sealing fire next to him, tears were about to fall. "Fenghua, when did your bastard seal speed become so fast, and it's too standard?" Fenghua glanced at him and sighed, "Quick. My current speed of making seals is only 1.5 seconds per seal. Isn't this fast?" Uchiha Obito rolled his eyes, and now he can't make a standard seal in 3 seconds. "Of course it is faster than the current you, but my goal is not the current you." Fenghua took a deep look at Uchiha Obito. Uchiha Obito was terrified by him, and he changed the subject with a dry smile, "Speaking of Fenghua, why have we been practicing knot seal all afternoon?" "Of course." Fenghua affirmed. "Ah. This is too boring." Uchiha Obito only lasted for a while, but he couldn't hold on anymore, especially his hands felt cramped. "Hold on, Obito, didn't you say you want to be Hokage? If you can't persist even with this small setback, how can you gain everyone's approval and become Hokage?" Fenghua took a bowl of soul-poisoning chicken soup and poured it down for him. "Although no matter how hard you try, you can't become Hokage." "Damn it, I will definitely become Hokage to show you." In the end, Uchiha Obito persisted for 2 hours before his hands cramped and he had no choice but to leave. In the small courtyard, only Fenghua was left. Is it because of the body? He practiced sealing the fire until the evening, but found that his speed of making seals was still not fast enough, and remained stable at 1.5 seconds per seal. In later generations, Uchiha Itachi's seal speed is 6 per second, so fast that even Kakashi's Sharingan can't be seen clearly. Hey, take it step by step, even if you are in a hurry, it's useless. In the evening, Fenghua continued to practice. Climbing trees and treading water were no longer difficult for him, so he turned to practice kunai and shuriken. Fenghua's parents are Chunin, and there are many kunai and shuriken in the family, but the quality is average. Bang, bang. In the small courtyard, Fenghua looked at kunai under the tree trunk, shook his head with a wry smile, and failed the first time. Then he threw the shuriken, which also slid from the tree trunk. Fenghua frowned, picked up the kunai and shuriken, threw them a few more times, and finally summed up a little skill. Every time he shot, he could rub a little bark on the tree trunk. 2 hours later, Fenghua figured out the characteristics of kunai and shuriken, although not to the point of being able to command them, but they are already very familiar with them. Sieve. Kunai rotated and rubbed in the air, made a sound, and nailed it hard to the tree trunk. Successful. Fenghua was very excited, and continued to work hard. Gradually, he practiced until late at night, from throwing 1 kunai to 2 kunai at the same time, and finally throwing 3 kunai. The difficulty increased a little bit, but for Fenghua, he didn't feel it. A slight obstacle. Fenghua's hands are very perfect and can perfectly control every hand muscle. Through these muscles, he can feel the sensation of every kunai thrown out. This feeling is very subtle, which makes him intoxicated and happy. After throwing the shuriken, he also felt it, and soon he was able to throw 3 shurikens at the same time, and each of them could hit the target accurately. It's just. Fenghua frowned slightly. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com, I always feel that something is wrong, where is it? Fenghua looked up at the moon in the night, then closed his eyes, carefully feeling the coolness of the night wind. Huh. Someone seems to be watching me. A strange perception appeared in Fenghua's mind. It's because of the fire escape ninjutsu I cast at noon. But who is the other party? Umbu? Root? Or the police force? Fenghua opened his eyes, then yawned, pretended to be tired and went back to the house, then turned off the lights and went to sleep. Outside the house, a Uchiha tribe opened a pair of Erguyu Sharingans, and after confirming that Fenghua was asleep, he turned and left. The speed of the seal is 1.5 seconds, and it can throw 3 kunai or shuriken at the same time. Uchiha Yamano, the captain of the Konoha police force, looked at the information sent late at night, and thought slightly, the speed of the seal is average, but considering that he is only 6 years old, give him 80 points. Kunai and shuriken. In front of Sharingan, after all, they are just trails. At present it is still impossible to confirm whether he is a genius, alas, let's observe for a while. Beside, Uchiha Fugaku stood respectfully and said, Captain, I think this kid has great potential and is worth cultivating. Uchiha Yamano shook his head and said, Fuyue, Uchiha Kagami has a descendant named Uchiha Shursui. Although he is only 3 years old, he has already shown extraordinary talent. Such a child is worthy of my cultivation. I see, Captain. Uchiha Fugaku said. Uchiha Shursui will be handed over to you, you must train him well. Uchiha Yamano ordered. We must complete the captain's mission. Uchiha Fugaku nodded solemnly.